You know, it's pretty amazing how sometimes a huge legal battle, we're talking years of arguments, the fate of thousands of people, it all comes down to just one single sentence. And today, that's exactly what we're looking at. A sentence handed down by Australia's High Court in a massive case involving Qantas.
So here it is. That's the official verdict right there. I know, it looks a bit dense, right? It's packed with legal jargon. But trust me, every single word in that sentence carries enormous weight. This was the final word on a decision that completely upended thousands of lives.
Okay, so a single sentence that changed everything. But what in the world does it actually mean? Let's dive in and unpack this thing piece by piece. To really get it, we're going to have to break down that legal language, take a look at the actual people involved, and figure out why this case is such a big deal. All right, first up, let's decode the decision itself. We've got to understand the key legal terms. See, the court didn't just point a finger and say Qantas was wrong. Nope. They used incredibly specific language to explain exactly why what they did crossed a legal line.
And here we go. An unlawful adverse action. This phrase right here, it's the absolute heart of the ruling. The court basically said what Qantas did wasn't just some tough business call, it was this specific legal thing called an adverse action. So what is that?
Okay, so in simple terms, an adverse action is when a boss does something that harms an employee's workplace rights. But here's the crucial part. It's all about the reason why they did it. It becomes illegal if a main goal was to stop employees from using a right they're entitled to, like the right to organize or to bargain for better pay and conditions. And in this case, the court decided that a substantial reason Qantas outsourced these jobs was to prevent those workers from being able to bargain in the future.
Now, the court didn't just pull this idea out of thin air. Their entire decision was grounded in one very specific, very important piece of legislation, the Fair Work Act.
You can think of the Fair Work Act as the official rulebook for workplaces in Australia. It lays out all the rights and responsibilities for both employees and employers. It's the document that defines what a protected workplace right even is, and it's what gives the term adverse action its legal power.
Okay, so we've got the legal jargon sorted. Now let's talk about the people involved, the parties at the very center of this case. Because when you strip away all the legalese, this story is really about people.
And this number, 1,700, it's so important to remember. We're not talking about some abstract concept here. We're talking about 1,700 real people, baggage handlers, cleaners, ground crew. Every single one of them saw their job outsourced by Qantas. That number really puts the human scale of this whole thing into perspective.
So in the courtroom, you had two main players. On one side, of course, was Qantas Airways, Australia's national airline, defending their business decision. And on the other side, you had the Transport Workers Union, the TWU, who brought the lawsuit on behalf of those 1,700 employees, arguing that what Qantas did wasn't just a business decision, it was flat out illegal.
All right, we've got the legal terms. We know who the players are. Now let's put all the pieces together. Let's really get into why this case is considered a landmark for rights, not just another day in court.
So it really boils down to this simple sequence of events. Step 1, Qantas outsources 1,700 jobs. Step 2, the union challenges that move, not just because they didn't like it, but arguing it was a specific, illegal, adverse action. And then step 3, the High Court, the highest court in the land, agreed, ruling that the outsourcing was, in fact, unlawful under the Fair Work Act.
So what are the big takeaways here? Well, first off, it's important to know the High Court's decision was actually a confirmation of an earlier ruling. But what it really did was draw a line in the sand. It showed that the outsourcing was deemed illegal, not just a regular business decision. It served to protect the workplace rights of those 1,700 employees. And maybe most importantly, this whole case reinforces just how powerful the Fair Work Act really is.
And really, this entire case comes down to one massive question. Where is the line between a company's freedom to make business decisions and a worker's fundamental rights? The High Court drew a pretty clear line in this instance, but it's a question that businesses, unions, and governments are going to keep wrestling with for a long, long time. What this verdict does make crystal clear, though, is that in Australia, that line isn't just a suggestion. It's legally defined, and it's actively enforced.